Today we're talking about the P365X macro. That is the comped version of the 365 that holds 17 rounds. And my God, is it a neat pistol. But there's a lot of things about this handgun that you should know before you purchase it. I have owned, possessed, and used 365 handguns since 2018. I own four different kinds of 365s. And I've learned a lot about these weapon systems, the good, the bad, the do's, the don'ts, and the pros and cons. But particularly today, we are going to be talking about the 365 macro. I've had this pistol for 2.5 years, shot thousands of rounds through it. I've broken the hollow sun on it twice now. So I shouldn't say broke. I have deadlined 2 of these hollow suns. Now let's get into the handgun itself. Let's talk about the FCU, the heart of this handgun. What makes this thing so neat? What makes this the most modular pistol on the market, at least if we were still in 2022. But that being said, you can buy 30, 40 different kinds of grip modules from all different kinds of companies. There's probably hundreds actually on the market by now. Slides, you can get so many different slides. Say you don't want to get a comp anymore, you can get an XL slide for this with a ram jet compensator or something else that's super nifty. Now, that being said, you can turn this handgun into this, right? That's pretty freaking neat if you ask me. So say you buy this handgun, it's not touching your dick the way you like it being touched, you know. Maybe this feels more like a dude and this one feels like a stronger dude. You know, it's your decision on what you're into. I won't kink shame. But that being said, we're not talking about this Raider, we're talking about this handgun. So I'm gonna go ahead and sit this back down and talk a little bit more about the FCU. Now, one of the big complaints I have is for some reason I got a bad FCU for this handgun and the 320 because when I was running it on the Raider, I was having malfunctions, and then when I was running on the Panty Raider, I was having malfunctions with one of these FCUs, and I think that all comes down to SIG's quality control. Now, we're gonna get more into SIG's quality control later in this video when we're talking about the cons of this pistol, but definitely beware. Sometimes you may get a lemon when it comes to SIG. I don't know what it is. I used to love SIG so much, and now I'm actually thinking about moving towards the Glock platform, which I thought I would never do. I thought I was a SIGger at heart, but apparently not. Let's go on to the 17 round magazine capacity that you can run in this bad boy. But say you don't have the macro, say you have an XL. Well, you can still use these 17 rounds in the XL. When you buy the macro mags, we'll have the end plates to make this fit better on your XL or generic P365 handguns. Now, coming from the magazines, we have a lot of issues with these mags. Okay, so now that I'm up next to y'all, you can definitely see, we'll just show it from the back. You can actually kind of age these by just looking at them. So if you see here, you can definitely tell the newer magazines from the older magazines. I do have a, oh, let me show the front of these two. Yeah, they're definitely pretty aged and wearing out relatively quickly. Now, I do have a video that I may do for these magazines, and that is just me getting some bluing compound, sanding these down, and then just dipping them in some bluing compound. So some of these magazines do have new springs and followers inside them because the springs have completely shit the bed. Now I'm gonna walk back over here and tell you why these magazines suck so much. A few of these magazines have completely given out on me at how many rounds. I want you to guess in the comment section how many rounds it took for a magazine to poop out on me. If you guessed 600 to 800, sometimes around 400, they start acting a little funky, then yeah. And then somewhere around 1,000, they really start acting bad. Like they start jamming your pistol up and everything else, which is a no-go for me. Now, I have bad luck with firearms. I've broken a lot of weapon systems in my day, so I will say maybe I'm just harder on my equipment than usual, but I have a 20-year-old pistol, 20-year-old SIG P365 that has the same factory magazines with it that have no rust, no coating issues, no nothing. But these newer handguns clearly are suffering from that. And what you see here is these actually have some pitting from rust that I've wiped off over time, because you catch it, it's just surface rust, and you kind of wipe it off and it's somewhat usable still. But you definitely have to keep your magazines oiled and in a nice dry area. You cannot leave these in your truck because they will start to rust, especially if you shoot a lot. Now that being said, If you know the problems with the magazines, the biggest thing I can implore to you is do not use your CCW magazine when you're training, because, you know, I'd rather have a spare mag poop out on me than the one that's actually in the firearm, because the odds of me reloading in a firefight are slim to none. Now, that being said, I'm not saying it's never happened before, but for me, I'm more concerned about the one that's actually in the gun. I'm not gonna buy a bunch of magazines and never use them, because these mags are what? $70 a piece for these poopy magazines, for these dinky little crappy magazines. You would think these magazines are from like a Dagger or something. You'd think they were produced by PSA with how crap they are. You wouldn't think it was with a, you know, a big company like SIG that, you know, cares about our military and cares about self-defense and cares about the gun owner, when they clearly don't if they're going to be putting out trash products like this. I'll say it, that was a spider. I'm under a tree, happens. Now, but they do have that 17 round mag capacity. So, you know, that is, you know, give or take the size of the platform or weapon system that you want to use. That might be worth the trade-off as the expensive magazines, but it's still a lot more concealable on your body. Now, let's go into the next. I know this is the pro side, but I can't mention the magazines without telling y'all how bad they are, because if you don't watch the whole video, I want you to at least understand how bad the magazine is in this weapon system. Let's go to the next one. Let's talk about how compact this weapon system is. For what it is, I would say it is relatively compact, but it does have that blend of duty and compact in there. You can see this is next to the actual, you know, P365 XL. It's a little big for some people's liking, but it honestly is very, very manageable when you are carrying it. I've never really had a problem with printing out of it, and yeah, it's pretty simple. Now, what I do like about this handgun is it does have a weird blend of like duty-ish handgun. So if you only can afford one handgun, I would say, you know, maybe get the Macro Grip XL barrel ramjet, and then probably not a Hollow Sun. Do your research on your own optics, but the Hollow Sun, like I said, I've deadlined 2 of these on these pistols, and that's a no-go for me. But that being said, it does have that good blend of like duty-ish to concealed carry. So if you needed one pistol for the range and self-defense, this would be a wonderful option. Another pro about the Macro is it is a great duty-ish pistol. It fits a lot of roles. Say you're in a role where you have to carry a handgun for your job, but you don't want to be able to be seen carrying that handgun in that role. Boom, you have your P365 Macro, 17 rounds of capacity. If you're expecting or you may get in a gunfight, it is nice to have that plus up of capacity, especially if you throw another magazine in there or off to the side. Not in there, you got one in here and you got one here. You know, you throw one magazine off to the side, you have an incalculable amount of rounds to break contact or get rid of that threat. So I think it is a wonderful little semi-duty pistol, but not really duty pistol. You can see here I have many belts and weapon system holsters. I have a little duty holster, level 2, with a retention device here. I've got a sticky holster. I've got a T-Rex arms holster. And then I have this belt that I built around the P365 Raider. So this belt goes with this one, but you can also run this little concealed carry duty belt with this pistol as well. It definitely fits a lot of roles, but that being said, if it fits a lot of roles, it means it's not going to be good at certain things. So if you're wearing super, super thin clothing, you may have a little bit of print, but I haven't seen that as a severe option, or I haven't seen that as a real problem, at least in my body style. I know a lot of people are built different, but for me, it hasn't been bad at all. Let's go into the compensator now. So you can see that this one has a compensator and then this one doesn't. I'm gonna do a highly scientific test, i.e. shooting both of these handguns and seeing how well the compensator works on this handgun compared to no compensator with a smaller grip, because clearly a different grip module. Actually, I won't do that. What I'll do is I will shoot it on the Macro grip. I'll just swap slides so you can see the difference between the normal slide and the compensator slide to see which model you may want. Let's get into that. So I definitely felt like the compensator was worth it, but only the footage will tell. Maybe it's a placebo effect, maybe it's not. But what do you guys think in the comments below? Other than that, guys, I really need y'all to like, comment, and subscribe. I haven't said it much in this video, but it really helps me out. I'm a very small channel, and I just shot, what is that? Fuck, incalculable. 3 magazines, 17 rounds each. That is an incalculable number of rounds and money. The stuff's not free. I really would appreciate y'all liking, commenting, and subscribing. because that's how you help me out in the algorithm and my channel as a whole. Let's get back into the video, because not only can you get duty holsters for them, but you can have fun on the range with the boys while still carrying and practicing with the weapon system that you will carry every day. So enough ranting about that. I think it is a decent size for what you get. It's a real compact package that blurs that area between compact pistol and duty pistol. Does it shoot as well as a duty pistol? Hell no, because it's lighter than, you know, a 365 or not 365. It is lighter than an M17 or a full-size Glock or a Beretta, just because it has that, you know, smaller slide and polymer grip system. But it definitely does it does do what it is intended for, I guess. I don't know how to explain that. It kind of is a duty pistol, but kind of not. I wouldn't carry it if I was like a police officer or in the military, but if I wanted to go party with the boys at the range and wanted to rock a duty holster, I definitely could see, you know, where this fits in well. Say you were a detective on a police department, you know, this would be a great option for you, because once again, it's easier to conceal underneath a suit jacket than a full-size handgun. Or if you were in some kind of executive security role, this would be a wonderful, like, duty-ish pistol that still does mostly everything that you need it to do. Once again, if you did want a longer barrel, you could get that XL slide with a ramjet on the end of it, and that would give you, you know, a little bit more just give you a little bit more barrel and a little bit more recoil management than compared to this macro. Now, that being said, let's move on to, this tree is just getting more and more in my face. Let's get on to the reliability with this pistol. I would give this pistol, and I want to give it a, you know, a 10 out of 10 on reliability. Like I said, I have thousands of rounds to this handgun, and I have never had a malfunction out of it until the magazine started failing. And that is where the reliability is up to the user. If you are maintaining and preventive maintenancing your magazines and making sure everything is up to par, you should have no problems out of this weapon system. But that being said, not everybody's perfect, and on that bad day, it can only get worse. And if you're not maintaining your magazines and handgun, well, you know what happens from there. You do end up in the streets clapped, and I'm not talking in a good way. So I'll give it an 8 out of 10 on reliability, just because the magazines are a super big problem. But if you have a brand new magazine in this firearm and you keep it loaded, I have a video where I kept a magazine loaded for 1 year straight with the same exact ammunition, never unloaded, didn't do anything. I just carried it, and then I measured the grain size and the size of the bullet, everything else, and that magazine ran flawlessly, being, you know, loaded for a year straight. So I will say, if you get a new magazine, you don't use it at the range, and you just keep it loaded and ready to go, and then you just cycle out that ammo, say every 3 months, you should have a relatively reliable weapon system. Not relatively, you should have a reliable weapon system, because I have fed this with only the most garbage of ammos and haven't had a severe malfunction, nor a malfunction from the actual weapon system. The actual weapon system itself, more or less, it was just the ammunition feeding device, i.e. the magazine, that caused most of those issues. So yeah, my rating system is ish, just because of the magazine problem. You can see I'm very passionate about it, because it upsets me. They're $70 magazines. Come on, guys. Now let's go into the next topic, the cons of this pistol. Yes, because I know I've been saying the pros, but mixing in the cons, and guess what? We pretty much went over most of the cons. I will say the pistol itself does have a significant amount of wear with it. The finish on the weapon system is definitely rubbing off on this weapon, but I'd usually keep it in a sticky holster, which causes way less wear to the firearm itself. But if you're rocking a T-Rex arms holster, you will start to see that Kydex rubbing in on the slide, and of course a little bit of wear on some of the corners of this weapon system. But another big thing is rust. A lot of people complain about rust on this, and I have not had a genuine concern with rust on this firearm. The front sight post had a little bit of rust right at the tip and inside some of those crevices, but I keep my weapon system oiled relatively well, so that was just surface rust that came off when I wiped and maintained my weapon system. Now, I will say I am a little weird with my handguns, because I usually touch these a lot and I'm inside my house. So I do something that you really shouldn't do, which is I'll clean my firearms, and once they're clean, I wipe D-lead all over them, and I D-lead all my weapon systems, just so when I'm taking my gun out of the holster and putting it in my safe, my handgun safe, I am not getting lead on my hands. And then like usually I'm coming home from work, so I take my weapon, I put it in the safe, and then I sit down and eat food with my, you know, family. And that being said, I de-lead my grips and my pistol. It will cause rust over time, I'm assuming, because I'm not allowing those oils on the external parts of the pistol. But I'd rather deal with that in the future than deal with contaminating myself with lead. I'll say again, you shouldn't be doing that. It is bad for the firearm, but I'd rather destroy a pistol than die of lead poisoning or get my kids sick from lead poisoning because I carry a gun and I want to put it in the handgun safe when I come home from work. Now, that being said, let's go on to the next topic, which once again, it is going to be these magazines and the rust issues that these do have. And the biggest thing is you see the rust on the outside, but you don't see the rust on the inside. So you will have to break these apart and clean the inside of that out. And just get in there deep with a bristle brush and just really, really get every crevice and scrub it down and oil it. And yeah, that being said, there's many companies that make followers and springs for these. So, you know, it's going to cost around anywhere from like $10 to $15 for a spring and follower. That's something you probably want to invest in. Now, what are my final thoughts of the P365X macro? It is a handgun. It does handgun things. It has some drawbacks. It has some pros. It has some minuses. It has a better grip. It feels nice in the hand. It holds 17 rounds. It is reliable with the magazines that I choose to use in it, with the followers that I choose to use in it. This is a handgun that I will carry and continue to carry for probably another 5 to 10 years, just depending. Now, granted, this isn't my EDC every day. Depending on where I'm at, I actually carry the Raider. So the nice thing, and I will do a shout out to the guys at Flux. I don't like talking about them too much because I feel like I have too many videos on these Raider systems as is. But I will say their weapon systems have helped me. Their weapon systems have helped me a lot. You know, if you've watched the channel, I've clearly gotten my fingers ripped off and had to go through surgeries. I got another surgery coming up, but this is a handgun that I can concealed carry and shoot even with the nerve damage on my hands. And that has brought me a lot of, how do I say this without sounding like a fucking faggot? It's helped a lot, like emotionally, physically, knowing that I can still use a handgun even when I am, you know, hurt. I've got nerve damage. I can't grab stuff. I can't use my right hand from time to time. Not anymore. I can use my right hand, but I have to go and get another surgery. So, you know, next week I won't be able to use my right hand, but I'll still be able to carry a weapon system. I'll just swap this clip over to here, and then I'll just, you know, work on that draw with this left hand before the surgery. But I can still carry and brace a firearm, which is going to be, you know, nice, right? Even if I'm at home and I'm not walking around in the public, I still have a weapon system that I can turn to in my house, whether it's the Panty Raider or if it's the Flux Raider. It's weird to put it into this video, but I feel like I haven't mentioned that, and I haven't thanked those guys enough for this product, and anybody else that struggles with some sort of weird disability. You know, it's a great product for that. Now, that being said, I think that's about it, guys. Get off my range.